Guys, welcome back to my channel. In the previous section, we have discussed about ABAP Cloud detailing. If in case you have missed that video, kindly watch that first. That is the part one. So this is going to be a part two. In this video, we are going to cover, about ADT, and CDS views and EMLs and little bit like a basic level. Okay, we try to understand these concepts. Then we'll move into the RAP part later, right? So let's get started. Okay. So first we have to understand what are the key players in RAP. Okay, so there are three key players. Okay, one is ABAP Development Tools in Eclipse. So this is very important one, which is basically ADT is supported only in Eclipse IDE. Okay, so it's ABAP Development Tools, which is shortly called as ADT. Okay, and it is supported only in the Eclipse IDE. If you don't have this one, you cannot create a RAP applications. Okay, cannot create the CDS views. Okay, so if you want to create a RAP application, this is first thing is mandatory. You have to first install the Eclipse IDE and you have to use the ADT tools or download the ADT tools as a plugin in the Eclipse. Okay, so that you can able to create a series or RAP applications or any like RAP related objects, right? So so ADT is going to be your new IDE. Okay, with with the onboarding for a developer is very simple. Okay, and also you can do the end-to-end development flow with the ADT. Okay, so if you're a developer and you're using the SAP GUI before, right? And so I would strongly recommend from now start using the Eclipse IDE with ADT. Okay, so because that this is going to be a new normal, so I would strongly recommend this, right? For people those who are using a GUI based editor before. Okay, so what are the languages supported? There are two languages. One is ABAP and another is a CDS. Okay, Core Data Services. So that for learning the RAP, this is the two things you need to know mainly. Okay, without CDS, you cannot create a RAP application at all, and the business logics will be implemented using ABAP language. Okay, I would say it's not a standard ABAP what we use in the GUI, which is slightly different. A lot of advanced syntaxes like EML and everything will be there, which is has been introduced because of the cloud version adaptability. Okay, so yeah, if you're learning up, you have to learn these new things also along the way. Okay, you have to learn the EML, you have to learn the advanced syntaxes in the ABAP, right? These are the little bit hard phase, but it's really worth it. Okay, and so what are the standard implementation? Typed API supporting. What is mean by typed API supporting? Basically, um, like for example, if you want to access columns from a table or internal table, okay, we use like hyphen and we can control. If you click on the control space, you will have this column names, right? So this is the same way you can access the wrap vivo also. The same way you can access the column, same way you can access the action name or entity name. Everything can be a type API. Okay, so this is a very good thing because it will just tell you everything in a design time itself. If you are doing something wrong, if you are accessing different column name, it will raise a syntax error so that you will understand. Okay, this column name is not there at all. Correct. So that is the way you can able to find it using the typed API. And also static code, that's I mentioned, right? It's a syntax error, immediately gives you the feedback. Auto completion is we know very well, right? So basically you would able to, so the system itself be able to tell you what is the next possibility word for that, right? And element info is something like if you want to find out what is the data type or metadata about the column, right? So you can be able to find out here easily, right? This is called as a very powerful framework, right? First thing is it take over technical implementation tasks. So what does this mean? Okay, so all the technical implementation, technical means like for example, create, read, update, delete, logging. So these are the technical things which can be automated, right, easily. Second thing is business logic ordered in code exists on protocol agnostic layers. What does this mean, protocol agnostic layers? So if you just for example, if you create a action called submit sales order, something like that, consider, and this submit sales order is going to be applicable for any kind of a protocol. For example, whether if it is a OData v4 or whether it is a OData v2, or if it is a web API or UI, or if you are exposing this as a another protocol. So you don't need to change your business logic. Okay, it's just a code exists ordered already, and which is protocol agnostic. You don't need to worry about which protocol you are going to expose. Basically, protocol agnostic, like you define the service binding, like what kind of a service binding, OData v4 or v2, UI or web API, something like that, right? So those things, right? So that's why it's called as a very powerful. You don't need to worry about what is the target which is going to consume this business logic. You don't need to worry about it, right? Okay. Second thing is efficient ABAP development for Eclipse. Why it is called as a efficient ABAP development? Okay. What happened to the GUI based editor, right? So one big problem with the GUI is, right, it's not a developer friendly, I would say. Okay. Why? Because it's like, for example, you are writing some select query in a table or something, right? And if you want to know about the column name of the table, right, to select the data, so you have to open the SE11 or SE16, have to give the table name, have to see what are the columns are present, right? And you have to use use a particular column in your select query. Or if you want to see the data, what are the data available, you have to again move to the just go to the next screen, show the list, it will show the select options, and after that only the data will be shown, right? But in IDE, you can quickly see the data preview, or if you're writing a select query using using control space, right? It will suggest what are the columns available in the particular database table easily, right? So that is that it can able to do the navigation and search very quickly comparing to the GUI based editors, right? And also a lot of options. That's code completion. That's a code completion what I'm talking about, right? So you can get immediate feedback about the runtime errors. Most of the runtime errors, right? Old GUI based editor won't show that immediately, but this will show that using the static code check, it will tell you immediately what error will be there, right? So you don't need to use check for a syntax check button or something like that. It will immediate feedback will be given in the ADT Eclipse, right? Also, you can write a unit testing, and it seems like testable will be also supported here, okay? And supportability, for example. There's a lot of improvement of features has been added to the debugging part, okay, on profiling, tracing, static code, and dynamic logging. So these are the tools which help us to identify the issues easily. Okay, I'll plan to dedicate a separate video for this supportability concepts. But yeah, let's move into the next part now. Okay, so declarative and expression-oriented ABAP language. Okay, why? So let's see one by one. Simple and concise ABAP code through new language features such as inline declaration and constructor expressions. So what is okay? So what is inline declarations, constructor expressions is something like I want to show you maybe in the code level. Yeah, so this is one of the example for the inline declarations, right? And this is called as a constructor expressions, right? Yeah, so we were able to use this heavily in our new development, right? New ABAP development, correct? And entity manipulation, which is a very important part, EML, right? Which helps you to control the transaction business object behavior in the RAP and REST images. Basically, this we will see a separate slide for the EML. Basically, this EML is it's a kind of a API which able to using this you can able to access the RAP VO easily. Okay, I'll explain you why we need a EML and all in a particular slide. But yeah, just for now, I think this is okay. Extensively expression oriented syntax. Okay, this is what I have mentioned already. You can use something like value hash or maybe a condition hash, like we heavily use this kind of a syntax, right? So that's we call it as extensively expression oriented syntax. And JSON supported XML library. So basically we were able to, there are a lot of built-in functions which help for a JSON, right? We were able to do it with everything in the XML, right, earlier, right? But here the JSON support is very much helpful, and you have a couple of utility functions which you can use it, that you can serialize and deserialize the JSON as well, right? And advanced table operations such as corresponding filtering, right, grouping operator, right? So this is we know very well, right? We heavily used in the new ABAP models, right? New ABAP versions, right? We use corresponding and we use grouping and we use filtering for that, right? Using this new syntaxes. These are the new syntaxes actually. And inline code documentation with ABAP doc. We can create inline code documentations easily with the ABAP doc. Okay, this is very helpful for documentations purpose. Okay, and cloud optimized ABAP language version. So this is very important. Cloud optimized language version available for cloud ready and in cloud and on-premise. So basically, if I want to show it. So if you see here, this ABAP language, right? This ABAP language, ABAP for cloud development. So this ABAP for cloud development, okay, will be a only option in the BTP and S4 on a public cloud side. But if you're opening the same properties and if you're checking this language version have multiple options in on-premise or private clouds, like standard ABAP, and a lot of options will be there. Standard ABAP, you can use it like GUI based development or something. But if you want to go for a complete cloud development, you have to use this as set this as a ABAP language version itself when creating a package, and and it will help you to keep your development always a cloud ready. So that is why this is very important. Maybe if you are creating, the recommendation is if you are creating any new packages in on-premise or any systems, set this as ABAP for cloud development. Okay, that's really will be helpful. Okay, and your code will be always a cloud compliant. Okay. Yeah, and also like unit testing with testables and test teams also supported with the ABAP unit. Okay. Okay, so why do we need a EML? Basically, this is something like very important thing. This is a new syntax. EML is not a not a old part. Like it's something new which is derived from the old. Okay, which something looks like a easy one. It's a readable. Okay, so basically it's extension of the ABAP language with an SQL like syntax. So they this EML, okay, they wanted to so this as a like habitual one. Okay, that's why it's like looks like a SQL like syntax or like our normal ABAP statements. Okay, and also it's a direct API based access to RAP VO. This is very important. Why? Okay, so if I maybe probably I can show you. Okay, so basically this is my behavior definition, consider. Okay, and this has already a implementation class, right? So if I go to this implementation class, the navigation is taking a little bit time. Okay, that is some error. I don't know. Okay, let it be. So this is the class. Okay, if you see here, okay, there are local handler class all defined in the local handler classes or all defined in the local types. Okay, so here you could see in each local handlers you have a private section, and all actions, right? Accept travel, reject travel, these are the actions. Okay, so these are determinations, right? So everything is defined under this private section. Okay, so in object oriented programming, okay, if something defined under the private section, you cannot access it outside of the class, right? So right, this is the object oriented principle. Okay, so if I want to reuse this accept travel in some other code part, so what should I do? Okay, I cannot access this directly, so that is why EML come into the picture, and I can access this wrap vivo. Using this wrap vivo, I can access this action directly, right? So we would able to access any vivo part, whether it's a column, whether it's an action or anything, which should be done via the EML part only. So they have standardized this as an API. Okay, so that is why we need a EML. So it is very important to learn the EML. Okay, I have a dedicated video for this EML. If you guys want a new one, just let me know. I can ready to give the new EML, not new EML, new video for the EML with the simple explanations. Okay. Standard EML for types of read and modify access to wrap view. You can use the EML for read the data and also modify data. So we have example for this. So if I just go here, like if you take any action, so you see this modify entities, right? Which is basically helps to update the data. Here we are updating the travel entity with this columns, right? And also the read we can easily read with, but only important thing is, like, if you're using the EML, you have to pass the keys as a mandatory thing. So it will supported for now only with the keys. You cannot use any other columns, you have to use only the keys, right? So that's one thing with the EML part. Okay, so you can control the transactional view behavior in the wrap context. So basically this what would happen with the EML, right? You can use it for the wrap. You can update the data, which can be updated in the transactional buffer, and you can read the data from the transactional buffer, not from the DB level, right? So all your active instances, whatever you are doing, that will be stored in the transactional buffer, and EML helps you to access the transactional buffer easily. Okay, and data consistency ensured by database LUW. Okay. So commit operation record to persistent. So when you're using the wrap and EML, right? So this LUW concepts will be taken care by the framework itself. So we don't need to touch anything. Okay, the framework will take care of the LUW, that commit and roll back whatever the database operations, right? That will be taken by the framework itself. Okay, and generic AML API, generic framework integration for the wrap views. So same thing. So you have to use the API, the EML API for integration of the wrap view. Any wrap view, you have to use the EML, right? So the summary of this, EML is introduced to access the wrap view, right? You can able to read, you can able to write, you can even call the actions, right? You can even call the functions or trigger the determinations. Everything can be done via the EML. Yeah. So okay. So this is about the EML concept. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. So next generation data modeling and access with ABAP series. So why series? So why do we have to use the series? Why it is so popular, and mainly why it is a backbone of creating the app application. So basically, first is common data model. Okay, here we have a semantically rich. Okay, what is semantically rich? Which means you can add metadata. I mean, you can add metadata information to your data, basically. Okay, so what does this mean? So I'll show you a small example here. So I open the CDS view, right? So I take the CDS as an example here. Let me take it. Yeah. Okay. So here you could see this annotation at semantics.amount.currency code, which refers, we have to refer for the amount field, we have to refer the currency code, right? So this is the currency code for this. So this is called as semantically rich. So you can use the annotations and you can inform the metadata or about the data, right? So here in this booking fee should be reference the currency code, right? So likewise, all the annotations, right? So all we call it as a, this is related to the view, right? So for example, for this view, if you want to use the label, we can use this label. So this is the label for the particular this root view entity, right? So earlier, what we do, right, before the CDS, okay, we follow a approach called top-down approach, right? So basically, what would happen? So basically, there are two things when we talk about this CDS view. Okay, so this is inverted triangle, and this is triangle, right? So you have a database here, right? You have a database here, and let's talk about this one. Okay, so you do the process. Actually, okay, your core business logic will be happening here, right? And it will return you only the result set. Okay, which means, okay, if I want to just fetch the corresponding record, or if I want to achieve something, okay, with the read, okay, maybe I want to add a simple example. I want to add a tax calculation. Okay, so this tax calculation can be achieved with the built-in function itself, right? If you know the amount, if you know the tax percentage, that can be easily achieved with the CDS built-in function. So I don't need to take the data to the application layer, and I don't want to process it. So simply what I do, I push down the code. This is called pushing down the code. I push down the code, and I would like to do the processing in the database layer and return the sets like this. Okay, So this is we simply call it as a push down approach. Earlier, what we do, we have a database layer, right? So we take all the data here. So in the application layer, you have to write a business logic. So basically, you select the data. Then after that, we do a loop and we take a tax related columns. Then we perform the calculation with the amount. So this is how we do it, right? So basically, see, by default, CDS can be declarative. So whatever you want to achieve mostly can be pushed down to the DB layer so that your performance will get improved. Okay. Third thing, close to conceptual thinking, which means like if I know, let's say if I have a basic knowledge of SQL, so I can be able to easily read the CDS definitions, right? So it is not very complex. So functional guy, right? So if he look at this with the basic SQL knowledge, he can be able to identify from where is the data is coming, okay, and how the associations and composition is defined, okay, and what are the columns that were exposed, right, and what are the association has been exposed to the upper layer. And also like easily the joint conditions can be able to easily form, right? So but if he look at the older approach where we select the data and we do the loop and all the things, right, he has to know the ABAP first to understand the business logic. So yeah, the point is it is very easy to identify the business logic by anyone. So that is why we have to use the series. So these are main three things with the common data model. Okay. So the second thing is improved programming model. Okay, what are the things has been improved? Okay, for this with the series model, right? So for all application domains, there are rich set of built-in functions. So there are lot of ABAP CDS built-in functions are available. So it will apply for most of the use cases. Okay, that's what this is a rich. That's what they meant as a rich set of built-in function. Second thing is code push-on capabilities. What is code push-on capability? This is what I was explaining before. Top-down approach, right? Top-down approach simply means your code will be pushed to the data layer, which means database layer, which means if your business logic consider it's executing in the database layer, you don't need to send the complete data to the top layer, that is application layer, which okay, with this top-down approach, this is not required at all, right? Sending complete data to there and processing that, right? All the calculations can be performed within the data layer, and only the results will be sent back to the top layer. So the performance will be improved here. That's we call it as very important features of core data services, code push down capabilities. Code will be pushed to the database layer. Okay. And one more thing to mention, here is this CDS will not only work for HANA database, so it will support for all kind of a database. It's a database agnostic. Okay, so many people think that CDS will only work with SAP HANA database. It's not true. So we can be able to execute the CDS even in the ECC layer as well. But ECC layer contains different database, right? So that's one thing to highlight here. And the third thing is declarative access control. So with the access control, so basically we define access control in the CDS view. Probably we create a DCL for that. So this will be taken care automatically by the CDS. So we define the authorizations and everything there. We can able to declare it, and so the data will be processed accordingly. Okay, so that's why they call this declarative access control. Okay, and capture business intent. What are this? There is two things. One is reduced complexity view. You don't need to dump all the logic in one CDS view, which become more complex, right? So what you can do is you can just create multiple layer of CDS view. You can separate the logic, and you can reuse if you need it in different projects as well, right? And which reduces the complexity also, right? That's one thing. And second thing is if it is only read approach, right? And you want to read some complex things, right? You can define it in the CDS view. Okay, the complex word can be defined, right? And anyway, this is going to be executed in the database layer, so you are not going to consider any performance issues there, right? So yeah, so CDS can be support even the complex case as well, right? So there are different kind of CDS views which suppose a complex case. So we are going to see that what are type of CDS view in a minute. But yeah, with this different types based on your use case, you can choose different types of CDS views, and your complexity will be reduced. Okay. Then extending SQL. Okay, extending SQL is like your SQL has very limited operations or built-in functions or something, right? But with the CDS view, you have a lot more features than the SQL. So it's like a similar to CDS is similar to SQL only, but they have a lot of features added to the CDS view. There are more capabilities has been added to the CDS views, which is why the CDS views are preferable. Okay, so I would say like 80 to 90%. The query can be written in the SQL as well. But other than you can, if you want to create a UI annotations, or if you want to create some web APIs and all those things, you cannot use this SQL as well, right? So it will be written only in the ABAP. But you don't want to use the ABAP in case like if you want to expose the data, right? So the default thing you need to go with the CDS view. That's why CDS is more powerful than writing a simple SQL logic. Okay. And one more point I want to clarify here is most of the people think that CDS can write the data. Okay, but it is not possible to do modify operations with the CDS view. So CDS view, it's dedicated for reading the data. So when you want to read the data, you should define the CDS views and expose the data. That's it. Okay. And if you want to write the data, you will have to add the behaviors to it. That is where the behavior definitions, behavior implementations, all those come into the picture, right? So don't get confused. If you want to create just a read-only data, just go with only create with CDS view, where we don't need a wrap at all. So we don't need to create a behavior implementation, definitions, nothing. Okay. Just we define the core data services to read the data and expose it via OData. That's it. Your data will be exposed from the from the source system, right? Okay. So this is finally, this is very, very important. So try to master in the CDS view so that you will be able to learn the RAP very easily. Okay. Okay. Let's see what are the types of CDS entity types. Okay. First is standard view building. What is standard view building? It's for simple use case. Like if you want to create if you want to read the data from the database tables, you can go with this one, standard view. Okay. So there are typically four types. One is first is CDS view entity. Okay, which is basically starts with the define view entity. This is if you want to create a simple CDS view, you have to always go with view entity. Okay, you should not use a define view. This is already deprecated, which is basically DD based view. What is DD based view? It will help. Basically, you define the CDS view and you have to define this DD name. Okay, so your DD basically in S11 we have a we will have a standard view, right? So that will create it. Okay, along with the CDS view activation. So this method is already deprecated. Even though most of the on-premise systems suppose this, we should not use it. So always try to create CDS view entity if your system supports this. Okay, and CDS projection view. Okay, this is mostly preferable when you want to expose the data either via consumption view or maybe API side. Okay, so this projection view, the definition will be simple. You define view entity on projection basically. So you define a view entity, on top of that this projection will be done. Very important, projection on this view entity only. Okay. Third thing is projection view analytical query. What is this analytical query? So if you are exposing data for which needs to be consumed in like SAC or some other analytical clients, so you can create this transition view entity as projection on and you can expose the data. Okay. Okay. Second category, advanced view building external implementation. So these views can be accessible only if you want to connect with some external communication, right? So for example, first thing is CDS custom entity. Okay, this will be define this as a custom entity view. Okay, custom means all this basically shortly you are going to take care of all the technical capabilities. Okay, what are these technical things? So if you create a normal CDS view entity, it is mandatory to provide the database table, because either database table or some other CDS view, some source you need to provide. But if you don't know about the source, otherwise if your source is not in that particular system, okay, then you should create the custom entity, right? Define custom entity, and we have to define our logic, right, in the ABAP class. Okay, so whenever the custom entity is triggered, okay, this ABAP class execution will be done and our logic will be executed. And main thing, this is not for, you cannot consume the custom entity in some other CDS view. You can able to consume only via API or maybe UI. Okay, basically if you create a OData service, you can able to consume this custom entity via OData services only, right? And second thing is abstract entity. Abstract entity is basically, it's kind of a AC11 structure, but it has additional features also. Okay, you can define composition, associations. If you want to define a complex payload handling, okay, mostly I use this abstract entity for handling a complex payload for my action with parameters. Okay, so this is very helpful. Okay, maybe probably I will try to add 2 videos for this custom entity and abstract entity, which is really important topic and interesting one as well. Okay, I'll cover it up, right? And advanced view building, which is HANA breakout. Okay, SAP HANA breakout. Basically, this is database related. Okay, so first thing is table function. Why when you should go for a table function? Basically, if you have a very complex SQL, right, and if you are worrying about the performance issue, so that time you can go with the table function. Or second thing, if your use cases cannot be done with this normal way of CDS view creations, then you should prefer the table function. Okay, so this table function can be consumed in different CDS view, so that if you want to expose the data, you can easily expose also. Okay, how it works? Similar to the custom entity, table function, you will have a class. You have to define it, right? Basically, this class is a little different. You have to enable the class as a AMDB class. Okay, so AMDB is a separate concept which works with HANA database. So okay, in this class you will have to write a SQL script. This SQL script will be executed in the HANA layer and it will just return a results back, right? So this is a little advanced concept. So mostly this is preferred only if your use case is very complex, right? And you can easily use you can simplify it in the SQL script instead of a normal CDS view. Okay, CDS hierarchy is something, if you have something parent child relationship and you want to show it as a tree kind of a data structure, then you can prefer the CDS hierarchy. It has supports the UI as well, right? With a few elements, I hope. So we can define a CDS hierarchy and we can show the data structure kind of a thing. Like you can expand and you can see see each child of each thing, right? Each parent. So that can be done with the CDS hierarchy. See, this scalar function is a new thing. Basically, it's like little in a table. It's similar to the table function, but in the table function you can return only the able to return only the table of results. But in the scalar you can return a single variables or columns. Okay, so I have used too much, but this is something new. Type definition also new. Simple type and enumerator type. This is basically you can create a simple type and you can reuse in many CDS views. Likewise, you can create a constants and you can use global. That's a enum type. Okay, and CDS behavior definition and project. This is where the RAP come into the picture. Okay, this is transactional behavior definition. Okay, so using the RAP, you can create a transactional application, right? For creating a transactional application, you definitely need to create a CDS behavior definition. Okay, so behavior definition, if you look at it, will be similar to CDS syntaxes, but I would say a little advanced. A lot of things can be done with the behavior definition, and it has a different language called BDL. Okay, behavior definition language model. Okay, so it will start with something called define behavior. Okay. And modification free. Okay, this is basically for extensibility. Okay, with the CDS you can simply extend the column, extend the associations, right? And a lot of things can be done with the extending view. Mostly we will use the CDS view entity extension. Okay, this is one. Most of the cases we will be using this. You can extend you can add if you want to enhance a new column to your standard applications. You can use the CDS view extensions, and you can also possible to extend a custom entity, abstract, whatever we have seen here, right? All the things can be done, but DDIC don't try to extend DDIC. It's already deprecated. Okay, and metadata extension is for UI annotation. Defining if you have a consumption view and you want to add a UI annotation, so please create a metadata extension and define that. Okay, and CDS behavior extension is for extending the behaviors. So we have a behavior definition for create, read, update, and delete. And for the standard app, I want to add a new action, right? So in that case, I can go with the CDS behavior extension. So all the corresponding statement syntax will be like this. Okay. Finally, we have access control. We talked a few minutes back. We spoke about this 2 minutes back, and CDS access control, right, which helps you to define the rules and authorizations, and CDS framework will take care of it. All the it will apply the authorizations on the data and it will display you the final results. Okay, right? So this is the overview of about all the CDS entity types. Okay, if you have any doubts on this, please let me know. But yeah, I'll try to add a video for these things, and for extensibility also I will try to add more videos. Okay. Okay, so it's just a simple thing. You have Eclipse, and it's just nothing. It's just definition of the elements, whatever the elements we were having. So I can show it directly in the CDS view. So this is your selection source, right? So where your data will be selected, and this is your association section, right? This is your view. So whatever you want to declare about this view, your annotation goes here. Okay, and if you want to specifically add field level annotation, on top of that you can create it. Okay, yeah, you can use aliases and all those things, right? You can define the cardinality properly, right? Composition is for parent and child relationship. Associations is for not a tightly coupled relationships. Okay, yeah, so that is what they have mentioned it here. Nothing much. Your view annotations, view definition. This is your data source, element annotations, and section. Okay, so let's stop it here for this video. I think it went quite long. So basically, we covered 3 things here. One is about ADT, right? And second things about CDS views, and we just touch up on the EML part, but yeah, we will dive deep into the EML part later. So far we haven't started the RAP part, so it will be in the next video. So meanwhile, try to learn the ABAP CDS views as I suggested. It's very important for the creating the RAP applications. Okay, so yeah, if you have any doubts, just put it in the comments, and if you like the video, please like and subscribe, and share it to your colleagues. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.